Hello guys, I'm Mariano, the Trading Parrot, and I want to put out this emergency video because things are escalating quite quickly at the moment with the price action. In this morning's video, we talk about losing the 4-hour and that we were having an ongoing battle with the bulls protecting the support from August that at the moment is at stake, and if we close this daily candle with this shape, pretty much we get guaranteed that we have a breakdown on the daily. All of that happening 24 hours right before the core inflation rate reports tomorrow, while the general markets just stay flat. In this video, we're gonna talk about potential targets to the downside, where is support and resistance. As usual, we'll do some retrospective on the targets from this morning with the resistance of 98k. And as usual, we're gonna use the liquidity, the delta, and many other sources of information to understand what could be coming next. Guys, if you like this type of content, make sure that you're subscribed to CoinBureau Trading. I publish 3 videos per week in this channel, one on Tuesday, one on Thursday, and one on Sunday. But if you're a hardcore fan of altcoins and Bitcoin and you want to stay on top of the game, daily trading, swing trading, then make sure that you're also subscribed to the Trading Parrot channel on YouTube. I'm publishing 2 videos on Bitcoin, one in the morning, one in the evening, and an altcoin video as well in the middle of the day, at least when my MacBook is not failing to capture the video. Alright, let's get on with the content. As you can see, tomorrow we have the core inflation. It's gonna be a busy day with volatility. I'm pretty sure we have already seen part of that yesterday and today. I am based in the UK, so this for me is at 1:30 p.m. You can see that for the month of December, now we are back in the red. Not a massive drawdown, but since we made a big impulsive move as well, it's starting to feel a lot like pain, particularly for the altcoins. I just published a video in my own channel talking about the altcoin season, whether it's still healthy, and I covered the top market caps including Solana, ADA, XRP, Ethereum, and some additional altcoins that I will personally expect to bounce first once we start talking about a recovery from this pullback. If you are new to the channel or you haven't seen my analysis in the past week, we were tracking this pattern in here in 2024 and comparing it with what we did in 2020, and this is starting to look too far away right now because we are for the first time not just losing the trend line, but it's also with the 4th touch. In here we only have 3rd touches, and then we started with the impulsive move. In here we had the 3rd touch, and instead of that we had a doji candle. Following that, we insisted with the creeping up towards 100k. We closed a daily candle above 100k, but still we had a rejection from there, and this became a liquidity grab. So far from that high we are 7% down, which feels like nothing, but indeed across the markets we are now at 1.7 billion in liquidations in the past 24 hours, and from longs that's 1.51 billion. Pretty much 10% is shorts and 90% are longs. Of course, you can see the largest ones in here, plenty of 1 million and 2 million liquidations. On the 4-hour this morning in the video, we reshape our expectations, we redraw all the lines. We put this green line now as the global resistance, and we talk about the red still being in the morning global support. Well, the news is that we have broken below the global support, which is the red line, and this W formation in here that I talk in the morning didn't do much. We said if we cannot manage to get this W pattern to do anything, let's look for one in this area. We didn't get it. Instead, we had broken down below global support. So what am I looking for on the 4-hour? For now, there's not much to say apart from we need to still continue to look for a bottom information, and that we cannot really do much if we are conservatives until we actually break out above the white line, which is our resistance. But we also have to reclaim now the red line. So there's a lot of work to do when it comes to looking for a reversal and for starting to have expectations, at least when only looking at the 4-hour. If we look at the daily, and you've been watching my videos in the past 10 days, we talk about this channel on the daily, and we say that this support is that strong that has held the price since August. So 126 days holding this support, and today we are breaking it. In the morning, I say that the breakdown that we had with the candle close last night was too humble to take it serious, because sometimes that can be just a fake out. We already had one of those, so we say let's see what happens today, and there you go. Now we have a big candle on the RSI pointing down. There is no doubts that this is a breakdown, neither on the RSI or on the support of this trend line. Of course, it's a daily candle. We need to wait 6 more hours from here. You can see the rejection at 98k from the point of control. Of course, if we get a miracle in the next 6 hours and this gets bought up like it happened with the doji candle in here, and with what happened yesterday, we got bought up, that will be magnificent. But let's see what the rest of the data says in the video. I will just re-mention what I say in the morning, losing this trend line after having had a liquidity grab from the top of the range with a candle close above of the top of the range and now coming back down in such an aggressive manner. I will say that we could be heading to the bottom of the range, and at the moment that is located at 86.5k. Notice the lows on the price in here. We have a low here at 91k, and then we went slightly lower, just a few dollars below with the doji candle. Yesterday we put a higher one there, but now we are retesting it. There should be liquidity in this area thanks to the doji candle, because that brought the price back up thanks to the bulls buying that area. Those orders have been already executed, so we don't have that cushion still there. So if the price was to come down in here, that strength that pushed the price back above the trend line in terms of orders, I will expect that has been diminished. That is just common sense, but let's look at the data in the next charts to see if that is the case. Alright, on the daily, very similar analysis on the RSI. If you break down in here, we need to start talking about the next global support, which is currently located at 29. That is if we fall just like a falling knife. If we meet with that later, it could be 31. So let's say now 30, just a point in the middle, and 60 is our resistance if we wanted to reclaim this. And since tomorrow we have that meeting and we're going to be talking about the macroeconomy, because inflation in US affects the dollar affects all investments across the world, so it's got a huge impact in the macroeconomy. And if people left the meeting with a sweet flavor, we might have the option to reclaim this. We should in that case place a trend line to be on the lookout for a low quality breakout, and I'm saying low quality because it's got only 2 points of contact. I'm not even using the top of the line, so it's not even a global breakout in that case. But if that comes to become the outcome after tomorrow meeting, we're gonna be talking about this breakout later this week, possibly. If that's not the case and we see a rejection, then we're gonna be talking about meeting up with the global support, and we will definitely extend this trend line to see what happens and at what point we start looking like reversing and breaking out from there. Having said that, all this area in here in the low 30s doesn't really match what we have been doing in the past in December 4 years from now at the same time in the cycle. For that, let's take a trip back into December in 2020, and you can see that instead of what you saw in 2024, which was an ascending channel from August, in here is from the beginning of September to the upside like this, and in November, end of November, we broke down and we found a bottom information with hidden divergences at RSI 50. That was a trip from 33, finding a bottom at 50, so 20 points above it. Let's go back to 2024, and in here we have a trip from 26, breaking down only on the 9th of December, and the RSI is at 53. So we are 3 points away from where we bottom on the RSI. So do we have some sort of hope in here? I will say so. Based on seasonality, maybe we go slightly lower and we start challenging the trend line. The point where in the past cycle we started reversing was the 12th of December. Today is 10, so that's 1 day after the meeting. Notice as well that on the 15th of December in 2020, the altcoins were actually suffering and they have some sort of capitulation of 30%. I mentioned all the details of that in my video about the altcoins that I just published. I don't want to mix pears with apples in this video. I'm just going to stick to Bitcoin. So once again, the levels 30, 60 is resistance. So let's go to the price. Let's use the reverse RSI and let's update the targets. We got 60 on the top end and 30 as the support. So for Bitcoin to turn back bullish and produce a breakout, it needs to break now above 98.9, pretty much 99,000 is the magic number. If, for example, tomorrow we want to challenge this downside and revert back up, so we can potentially still have an impulsive move for the remaining part of December, which is what we did in 2020, and now it's starting to look a little bit more difficult. Notice that where we are in the daily candle, if we close here, that is a lower low of a closing candle relative to 95.8, which was the previous low. Before that, the previous low was 91.9. So up until then, or up until yesterday, we could say that the structures of higher lows wasn't yet broken. And indeed, the 101 is still a higher high. All of those are arguments towards the bullish case. The breakdown of the trend line is, of course, an argument against it. So I'm sure that if you are new to the channel, the first question that you are wondering right now is, so do we buy or do we sell? And I get why you're asking that, but the approach that I use is to identify everything that's going on in front of my screen on the charts, put everything on the table, and then use the lower time frame once I have found a thesis that says we kind of have a bias towards one side. Then I start looking for bottoming patterns on the 4-hour. If you want a straight answer, is do not do anything right now, because the 4-hour is still not saying anything that you can use in your favor, so you have good odds of winning a trade. If you take a short from here, you just broke down the global support, you are at very overextended levels. If you wanted to short resistance. In the video in the morning, I gave resistance at 98, and some people place in the comments their thank yous because some of them took that short. We are not in support anymore, so I think the wisest thing to do is to wait and see what happens as a reaction of tomorrow's meeting outcome. We are still in extreme greed, and there are still constant inflows into the ETFs. There was some fears that BlackRock was splitting all the Bitcoin into many smaller wallets. I cannot really confirm that. That is not my cup of tea. I don't trade those things. Most of the time tends to be just fake news, fad, distractions from what really matters. Let's look at the weekly time frame as well, because we are getting very close to the support on the trend line in here. That is a very important trend line. Is the one that has recovered the market after we lost the yellow support of the full bull market. We have recovered the yellow line, that's great, but now we are coming back to test the white line. And after having confirmed a bearish cross on the stochastic RSI, of course I've had my eyes on this white trend line, and with a particular interest into what price that represents. You can see that I have two prices. I have 93.7 on the weekly and 91.1. Those are moving targets, and those represent one, touching the white line right there at RSI 68, or touching the yellow line at 65. So 65 and 68, since they are moving targets and the RSI values are also moving, let's see if we still have the same values. It's all correct. Let's have a look at the liquidity pools at the moment. You can see that we hit on the 9th of December that 94k, then we hit again 94.8, both weeks pretty intense. We talk about the 98.2 being resistance this morning. We couldn't cross the resistance and take that liquidity above the price. We just pretty much took a very small fraction, and then the shorts took over once again, bringing back down the price to hit the new longs that enter. Right now there are new longs entering, placing the risk right there at 93.8. You can see their stop losses shining in red. And if you're wondering what tool am I using, this is Trading Different. You can find more information in the description of any video in the Trading Parrot channel. There are discounts as well that you can take advantage. Looking at the top, you can see that the liquidity above 101k is the most significant, followed by 102.6, which has become even larger by now. Below the price, we have below 90s, the first red, starting with 89, 88, and then 85. This is all short-term liquidity. It doesn't span very long because we are in a 15-minute chart. If we go into longer term, you can see that there were two liquidity hands yesterday that we called out, and right after that they just dumped the price below the pattern just to take them all out. There is some forming liquidity at 89 becoming red, but nothing as substantial as the top. So once we get the narrative to go back bullish, maybe after taking this lower low right there in the red at 89. Then we find the strength after the meeting to go back up to hit all those shorts that deserve a little bit more of punishment in this bull market. And here we can see the order book in terms of bid and ask liquidity. When we see the red, it means that there is a heck of a lot of limit orders wanting to sell, distributing. And typically it coincides with top informations. And the green is when we get a ratio above 0.17, which is the threshold I'm currently using, along with 0.15 on high block capital. And you can see that at the moment there is a big spike in the bidding liquidity. This means that people are buying 95k. This morning we noticed this order in the order book at 95k with over 100 million, which is pretty impressive since the price went there. I don't know if they pull it out right before, but you can see that now it's relocated to 91k with 44 million, followed by 64 and 34 million. So more spread away now and located at the low 90s. We have some support where we are with 29 million. So since the RSI tonight is not really helping, there's still the price too hot moving. We have to look at these orders and start thinking, are they really gonna get to 91 or break below that? Is the 94 now support with 29 million gonna be enough? Looking at the liquidations, we also use it as an alpha. You can see that liquidations of over 300 million are very common for the longs in all this period, starting from September and even going beyond up until August. Is very common to see this size of bubble. Larger than that you can see in July, but that is part of the summer, which tends to be a lot more heavy on the longs, whereas October, November, December, at this time in the cycle you see these big bubbles of the shorts being liquidated. Eventually I'm still expecting to see a big liquidations of long, but maybe later. I hope it's not tomorrow. Unfortunately today we cannot really much use the longs versus shorts delta. We are kind of in the middle there. It's true that in the past at these levels we were bouncing, but now we are in a downwards channel and we are in the middle of the channel. Below the price we have a liquidation massive at 93 and after that 89, which coincides with what we were seeing before, and above the price is at 104k, but it's quite small relative to the ones below the price. Going into the meeting tomorrow, I'm gonna repeat this. It's pretty annoying to see the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve really not taking any bullish action, acquiring assets and heading towards the upside, which is what we really want to see compared to the previous cycle, or even compared to what happened in January and they stop in April. Right now we have just a move, very humble, of 6% up into 3.28 trillion, and we have had 2 consecutive retests of the breakout and still pointing down. On the flip side, the good thing is that we haven't taken down the 3.09 trillion, which is the lowest low in this area, neither the previous low. We are still there, kind of holding. So I suspect that if they have been doing this, is because they are not expecting necessarily anything good to say tomorrow, or if they say something too good tomorrow, this doesn't really support it. That's another way of seeing it. But so far the general markets are just putting a small red candle next to an all-time high. On the Nasdaq we have a hive sell signal that is pointing to 19.6k. That is a retracement of 9%. The last one on the Nasdaq was in here and it fulfilled the target. The hive is an accumulation of multiple bearish divergences. In this case is the weekly time frame, and it uses multiple indicators. It doesn't appear on the S&P, and gold is pushing with a green candle up but still not putting a high, and the dollar index is hitting a resistance at $106 for the second week consecutive. Hopefully both of them are going to be breaking down soon and we start seeing more liquidity in the global index as well, because let's face it, Bitcoin is getting very thirsty of that liquidity, and if it doesn't come, it could cause that the pullback drags for a little bit longer. Not what we are reading from the past performance at this time in the cycle, but that's neither the case with the liquidity, which is not here. Guys, if you want to trade trade with top exchanges, consider looking at the links in the description. I have 2 excellent exchanges with big bonuses and low fees to trade. Those are Bybit and OKX. I really like them because they offer so many coins, access to leverage, trading bots, and really great user support as well. I need to update this because the 0% maker fees is no longer valid, so notice that. When it comes to non-KYC exchanges, which are pretty popular by now because no one wants to be doing KYC, neither needing a VPN to trade, I have 2 alternative options in case one of them didn't work where you live. I'm pretty sure that one of them is gonna work out. At the moment I have 2bit and Bluefin. 2bit is an exchange that has a very similar UI to Bybit. I believe part of the team that used to work at Bybit created this 2bit exchange and now it's a non-KYC alternative. And Bluefin, I've been using it for 2 months and you can see that it offers pretty large bonus and discounts on the fees. Let me know what are your expectations for the meeting tomorrow, and I hope to see you on the next video, which is coming up tomorrow morning in my channel. See you then. Bye bye.